Imagine taking your very first breath, only to instantly realize your own mother has left you to die in the rotting mud. There are no protective eggshells to break here, no warm, meticulously crafted nest waiting to cradle you. You slip directly from the suffocating darkness of your mother's body, dropping heavily into the sweltering, wet sludge of the Amazon basin. Your mother is a 20-foot, 150-pound titan, yet she doesn't even glance back at you. After 6 months of agonizing fasting to bring you into this world, her only driving instinct is to cure her own starvation. You are just 2 feet long, a fragile, fleshy ribbon completely exposed to the unforgiving jungle. Around you, 39 identical siblings writhe in the metallic-smelling afterbirth, a tangled mass of pure vulnerability. The thick humidity presses against your unhardened olive-green scales. You are entirely independent from the second you hit the dirt, but utterly defenseless, waiting in paralyzed silence for the jungle to make its first move. Then, the murky water beside the mudbank violently vibrates. Before your primitive brain can even process the threat, a massive tegu lizard explodes from the underbrush, drawn by the overwhelming scent of fresh blood. Its heavy, prehistoric jaws snap shut with devastating force. In less than 4 seconds, 3 of your newborn siblings are violently mangled and swallowed whole. The illusion of safety shatters. The slaughter has begun. You realize instantly that the title of apex predator is a lie you have to earn. Right now, you aren't the monster of the Amazon. You are just a noodle made of meat. You do the only thing your survival instincts allow. You thrash blindly into the dark, suffocating depths of the flooded forest, praying the black water hides you from the jaws of the jungle. Surviving minute 1 was a miracle, but minute 2 is a mathematical nightmare. Hit subscribe and check out to see how you survive your first week in the most dangerous water on Earth. Imagine holding your breath in paralyzing terror, knowing 95% of your family will be violently chewed to pieces before the year ends. To survive your first agonizing week, you must master the art of absolute invisibility. You bury your fragile 2-foot body deep beneath the rotting leaf litter at the murky bottom of the swamp. You forcefully slow your heart rate to a sluggish, rhythmic crawl to conserve energy, rising only to break the water's tension with your nostrils for a single silent gasp of air. You exist in a perpetual, suffocating state of pure anxiety, hiding from the snapping jaws of herons and caimans. Skip forward 2 grueling years. The anxiety has paid off. You are no longer defenseless prey. You are now a 9-foot olive-green phantom, thick as a baseball bat, perfectly dissolving in the floating duckweed. You don't possess a single drop of venom, and your mouth isn't built for chewing. Instead, your jaws are a terrifying cavern lined with 6 rows of backward-facing meat hooks, mathematically engineered to lock into living flesh and never let go. Your forked tongue flicks, tasting the chemical heat trail of a 100-pound capybara. For 14 agonizing hours, you remain a submerged statue, not twitching a single muscle. When the heavy rodent finally steps to the muddy edge to drink, you explode from the shallows in a fraction of a second. Your jaws violently clamp onto its snout, driving the hooks deep against the bone as your heavy, muscular body whips around its warm, thrashing torso. You don't crush its bones. That's a myth. You are a master of lethal precision. Every single time the panicked animal exhales, you tighten your brutal grip, physically denying its lungs the space to ever expand again. You feel its ribcage shudder against your cold scales. You feel its desperate heartbeat flutter, slow down, and finally, after 3 agonizing minutes, stop completely. The swamp goes quiet. You won. But the hunt was actually the easy part. The act of digestion is about to physically tear your body apart from the inside. Hit subscribe to witness the gruesome biological nightmare of swallowing your prey whole.
Imagine swallowing a meal so monstrously huge that it stretches your ligaments to the tearing point and forces your own internal organs to go to war. The thrill of the kill evaporates as your biology abruptly turns against you. Swallowing a 100-pound prey item is a 2-hour agonizing marathon. You must literally unlock your lower jaw from your skull, hyperextending your flesh to accommodate the massive, lifeless bulk. As the heavy capybara slowly slides down your throat, your skin stretches to such extreme limits that your thick, protective scales spread wide apart, dangerously exposing the soft, pale white flesh underneath to the jagged jungle floor. Once the colossal animal is finally lodged inside you, you're essentially a paralyzed, overstuffed vessel of meat. It will take 3 grueling weeks to digest this massive feast, and during this time, your anatomy undergoes a terrifying transformation. Your heart physically swells by 40%, and your liver violently doubles in size. Your internal systems shift into maximum overdrive, pumping gallons of highly corrosive stomach acid necessary to melt down the victim's thick hair, dense hooves, and solid bones. You're entirely immobilized, anchored into the mud by the rotting carcass slowly dissolving in your gut. This is the exact moment you are most terrifyingly exposed. If a prowling jaguar or a vicious chattering pack of giant river otters discovers you hidden in the murky shallows right now, you cannot strike, you cannot coil. You are completely incapable of fighting back. Your one and only defense mechanism is a desperate, sickening retreat. To survive an ambush, you must violently regurgitate the rotting, half-digested carcass, forcing the massive, foul-smelling bulk back up your throat. It is an agonizing, humiliating process that instantly sacrifices weeks of hard-earned energy just to shed enough weight so you can slither away and live another day. Surviving digestion is a brutal ordeal, but surviving your own massive growth is about to become your greatest nightmare. Discover why becoming the undisputed 200-pound king of the swamp is actually a deadly curse. Imagine growing so incredibly massive that gravity itself becomes your deadliest, inescapable enemy. Skip forward 12 brutal years. You are now the undisputed, terrifying king of the swamp. At 18 feet long and weighing nearly 200 pounds of pure, coiled, constricting muscle, absolutely nothing in this jumble hunts you anymore. But evolution possesses a deeply cruel sense of humor. The immense, monstrous size that kept you alive and elevated you to the top of the food chain is about to become a devastating curse. The dry season violently hits, the relentless rains stop, and the sprawling, life-giving rivers of the Amazon basin rapidly shrink into shallow, stagnant puddles. The equatorial sun beats down without mercy, baking the rich swamp mud into cracked, impenetrable clay. Because you are so incredibly heavy, your anatomy completely relies on the natural buoyancy of deep water just to comfortably support the crushing weight of your own massive internal organs. Now, forcefully stranded out of the evaporating water and onto solid dry land, sheer gravity becomes your worst nightmare. It takes a devastating, agonizing toll on your spine and ribs just to drag your own mountainous weight across the unforgiving dirt. Your thick, protective skin rapidly dries out, turning uncomfortably brittle. Your movements slow to an excruciating, labored crawl as the very environment turns against its apex predator. And then, the parasites arrive. Hundreds of opportunistic ticks, flesh-burrowing mites, and bloated leeches aggressively wedge themselves deep under your massive, dried-out scales, drinking your blood by the ounce. You are a 200-pound titan of murder, but you have no hands. You cannot scratch them. You are entirely helpless, forced to just sit there in the suffocating heat and let the jungle slowly eat you alive. But the absolute worst is yet to come, as the scorching sun prepares to bury you in a claustrophobic tomb of your own making, to witness the dark, suffocating end of the Amazon's greatest predator. Imagine being the deadliest predator in the jungle, only to be buried alive in a suffocating, sun-baked coffin of your own making. Desperate for salvation from the scorching drought, you seek out the thickest, deepest mud bog left in the dying Amazon forest. You forcefully bury your massive 200-pound body deep into the sludge, deliberately lowering your metabolism to an absolute, sluggish crawl. You enter a death-like state of suspended animation, shutting down your massive internal systems. You are banking your entire existence on the sky. You wait in the darkness for the rain. But the merciless equatorial rain is agonizingly late this year. As the days drag on, the remaining moisture evaporates entirely, and the surrounding mud bakes into impenetrable, concrete-like clay. In the pitch-black silence, your fat reserves rapidly burn away. To keep your primitive brain functioning, your body initiates a horrifying biological protocol. Those massive, terrifying coils of muscle that made you an undisputed apex predator begin to literally digest themselves from the inside out. Weeks slowly turn into torturous months. You are hopelessly entombed in hardened clay, completely paralyzed by the sweltering heat. There is no cinematic climax to your brutal reign. You don't die in an epic blood-soaked battle with a ravenous jaguar. You don't go out fighting, thrashing your massive body in a final display of sheer power and defiance. Instead, your end is quiet and agonizingly slow. Severe dehydration and starvation silently claim you, leaving your shriveled, emaciated body permanently trapped inside a dark, suffocating mud coffin.
You were the ultimate, terrifying apex predator of the Amazon basin, only to be slowly, mercilessly deleted by the relentless sun. But believe it or not, there is an animal out there forced to endure a life cycle even more brutally unfair than this. Hit subscribe. Would you survive your first 5 minutes in the Amazon?